Job.
Yes, I answer every question they ask me. It's just they not asking me questions that I know. I don't know the questions that they ask me.
Do you think this was retaliation? Some more the way they're describing it.
No, I don't think it was no retaliation because I never did nothing for nobody to hurt myself.
You don't have any names that you can give to police that might help them? Nobody you know from another gang or from your own gang?
Do you think there will be retaliation for your son's death?
No, I had already let the news know that it will be no retaliation done, not whatsoever. They don't ever want to tell that we just want justice for Tasha. I'm not the gangbanger type. I don't do that.
Why do you think it happened in that alley right here?
I don't know. I know one thing I do know. I know he was going his way to go home. I don't know why they followed him or whatever they do.
Did you know that after 180 days of eating a collection that you don't owe that debt anymore? Did you guys know that?
Here we go, boy. Another day, another dollar in your pocket. This one is about all the violence jumping off in Chicago, and this it's about the rules didn't change because now they're not just shooting at each other anymore. They're shooting at each other's family. So now it's like a brother might come home and might be missing his whole family the way that they playing a game out there in Chicago, and then that's what they want to say. They didn't. Yeah, they didn't got more. You know, it's just more self-destructive now. Cause look at all these people right here, man. Look at all of them. Why they ain't doing all this crazy stuff that these folks that these black young kids doing? Why they ain't doing all that? Why is it just the black folks? It's something wrong, man. This look more like this is more like something that it was created to be like this. It look like them environments are created to be like this. You know what I mean? And it's being promoted by all that fake ass music that they got coming out of that place, and it's spreading all over the place. You know what I'm saying?
You're saying you think it ends here. You've lost your son. There will be no retaliation. It ends here.
It ends here. There will be no retaliation. I lost my son. It's the end of it. He didn't have
Vicious
nothing to
cycle of gun violence in Chicago. Tyshawn Lee's father is convicted on gun charges. Pierre Stokes was found guilty yesterday of flashing a gun at a woman in 2014. The next year, Stokes was apparently part of a shooting that killed a rival gang member's brother. Just last week, 2 members of that gang were convicted of killing 9-year-old Tyshawn out of revenge. But after Tyshawn's death, prosecutors say Stokes went on a revenge spree of his own, shooting 3 people in 2016. He's now waiting to be tried on attempted murder charges.
Yo, we back. It's your boy Papa Lot. Mob ties. We're on our way to Illinois with it. The shot. My niggas put the shot in the combat. I know how we tapped in. Now, today, we are going to be covering a sinister tale, just a sinister web of deadliness, honestly. And just covering this episode kind of let me know that the rules are out of the window. Or, well, that posed me you guys a question. What are the rules? Are there any rules in the game or in warfare? Y'all get in the comment box with that below, but without further delay, I mean, it seemed like the only rules to me is that everybody just hate each other, hate themselves, because if everybody is like hate being black and hate black people even if they black, I don't know what the hell how that happened. So it's just like every time you see a black person, it's like a target. I mean, not a target, but I mean, it's like a target of hate. It's like you got this, you know, you see somebody else, your guard's down or something, or you just like, oh, okay, that's, you know, you don't pay no attention to them. You see a black person, and then all of a sudden you all up like, who the hell is you? All this, nigga, where you from? What hood you from? They don't say that shit to no other race of people. They don't say that shit to no Mexicans, no Chinese people, no white folks. They don't say, hey man, what fucking hood you from? Why is it you gotta be black for somebody to ask you some stupid ass question like that?
Nigga, I'm from Mother Earth hood. I ain't got no, what you mean a hood? Nigga, I ain't in no this ain't Boys the Men, not Boys the Men, but that Ice Cube movie, Boys in the Hood. Nigga, this ain't an Ice Cube movie. I'm not a motherfucking gangbanger. I'm not a Crip of Blood, none of that. Y'all motherfuckers done came up with all this gang shit, and since y'all trying to destroy yourself, everybody else gotta go with you. See, so now, what's that's gonna lead to? It's gonna lead to the little ass people who they're just fighting for their self-preservation to agree with the government that that type of shit gotta go, man. Because if y'all motherfuckers ain't gonna stick together and y'all gonna destroy the last little few people who trying to survive, then man, shit, y'all motherfuckers is part of the problem now.
The guy that we're going to be covering today is going to be a guy by the name of Pierre Stokes. Now, many of you guys might not have known Pierre Stokes. He is the father of 9-year-old Tashawn Lee that was murdered in Chicago. And for a lot of you guys that don't remember this was in the mid-2000 and teens. So like right around 15, if I'm not mistaken. It could have been 16, but just in this case alone, a 9-year-old was killed, a mother was killed, and a girlfriend was shot. So if anybody remembers no women, no kids, that's the question that I'm posing today, for real, to the gangsters. I need to know, man. If I'm catching beef with, if I got smoke with a nigga, is it on if you see him with his kids? Is it on if you see his mom at a certain situations? Now, some beefs seem like they are took into that aspect, or I don't know if that's just the new generation. Y'all get in the comment box, let me know about that. But the reason we're covering Pierre Stokes, because he was a this, and this shit is just go to show you how what you know is not really what you know. His son was murdered. Well, we're covering him for retaliatory shooting, but his son was murdered because members of a rival gang thought that he was responsible for a murder of one of the gang members' brothers, and as well as the shooting of his mother. And that's just what you see on, like, to meet the eye, but it's definitely deeper than that. And I'm gonna try to break down how it pretty much came to that point where a 9-year-old was killed, because it definitely didn't start there. Now, authorities are going to say that it's a known war going on, the Killer War faction of the Gangster Disciples, the Terror Dome faction of the Black Peace Dome. Now, detectives were investigating whether the death of a 29-year-old mother more than 2 years ago was connected to the back and forth violence between the two factions. Now, it really hampered up on August 5th, 2015, when a guy by the name of Darius King, 21 years old, who was a reputed killer member, was found fatally shot inside of a car on 75th Street and Damon Avenues, and that was around 6 a.m. Now, 2 months later, Tracy Morgan, a reputed Terror Dome member, and this is very, very important because his brother is going to be the one who they said orchestrated the killing of Tashawn Lee. Now, and this is the instance that pretty much set that plan in motion. Now, Tracy Morgan was shot and killed in the West Chatham neighborhood after leaving a mandatory meeting on October 13th for parolees, and it was part of an anti-violence effort by Chicago police and other law enforcement. Now, Morgan's mother, who was driving the car that he was in, was wounded by gunfire. Police were looking whether Morgan was followed by a Killer Ward member who also attended the gang calling. Now, I did see where...
Damn, this is just total, this is just total baloney, man. Listen to the names. Killer Ward, Killer this, Killer that, Killer everything. How did it get like this? It wasn't never, this shit is just, well, this is just, I ain't gonna say this is too much freedom, but it looked like freedom was a problem. What the fuck didn't happen here? Motherfuckers, they free to do what? Self-destruct?
His mother noted that it was a silver sedan followed them that had been parked outside the meeting. Now, on September the 30th, 2016, Chicago CBS Local reported that they were headed down South Lafayette and 83rd Street. The car passed them on the left, then cut in front of them and stopped. Now, meanwhile, another vehicle stopped behind the mother and son, boxing them in. And then that's when a gentleman by the name of Khalil Yamin, as well as another individual, would proceed to hop out and open fire.
How you guys all doing? I'm here today to reach out to all the blessed first responders.
You're right.
Anyone out there that's sick and tired of working all those night shifts? I totally understand how you feel.
Where you from? Arabia, India?
As a first responder,
You got some dark skin, but you don't. That I can tell you ain't from America.
6 years. I understand.
You got some dark ass
Fire
skin like
on the
Camilla
car,
Harris.
pumping 15 rounds into it. Now, Tracy Morgan was shot 11 times.
You got some dark ass skin like Camilla Harris. Where you from? India?
Stopped behind the mother and son, boxing them in. And then that's when a gentleman by the name of Khalil Yamin, as well as another individual, would proceed to hop out and open fire on the car, pumping 15 rounds into it. Now, Tracy Morgan was shot 11 times. Although his mother suffered a gunshot wound to the arm, she managed to drive to a nearby gas station and call for help. Now, Tyshawn Lee was actually murdered a few days later. After that, I want to say, less than a month. So that happened mid-October. Tyshawn Lee was murdered November the 2nd. Now, Yamin, who was 23 at the time, admitted that his role in the murder of Tracy Morgan and to another person that he had been recorded saying that he was armed and at the murder scene. Now, cell phone towers records showed that Yamin's mobile phone at the site of the parole meeting that Tracy Morgan had attended, as well as calls being made between Yamin and the second shooter just before the murder. So that's going to be pretty much what set the stages for that murder of Tyshawn Lee. They're going to say that Pierre Stokes is also a member of the same gang as Khalil Yamin. So, and they're going to say that they were warring back and forth with the Morgan brothers. And this is the kicker to this story. Now, not even a month after two men were convicted for the murder of Tyshawn Lee, his father would go on to be convicted for a gun charge, and he was awaiting trial for attempted murder that stemmed from a 2017 shooting that injured 3 people. And among the 3 people was 2 males and 1 female. The female being the girlfriend of the killer of Tyshawn Lee, which is Corey Morgan. So he would go on to wound her, further throwing the rules of the game out the window. And that's if there are rules. So let's just go through the steps. So one person's brother was killed and his mother was shot. What are the rules along that lines? Then you have someone's 9-year-old son killed. And then you have someone's girlfriend shot. Pretty much they was looking to kill her, I'm sure. So just those 3 steps alone just shows you how the game is being played these days. I want to know if y'all agree or disagree. Is it on site with the ops? Do they get a pass if they have movie night when they with their family? Or is it the level of beef? Some people really kind of figure that people like to hide out. So that's one thing that they said, the murder of Tyshawn Lee, because they said it really didn't start with him. They wasn't plotting on Tyshawn Lee. They just happened to stumble on him at a basketball court. They was actually plotting on Corey Stokes' grandmother, or Corey Stokes' mother, which is Tyshawn Lee's grandmother. Pierre Stokes. I'm so tied up. Yeah, they was focusing on Pierre Stokes' mother. So it's just, and at the time of his brother's killing and his mother's shooting, Corey Morgan said that he didn't care if he was going after mothers, grandmothers. It didn't matter to him because the rage at that time from losing his brother and his mother being shot was just unfathomable. But y'all already know how we rockin'. Y'all make sure y'all follow me on Instagram, on Twitter. It's your boy Pop-A-Lot, POP_A_LOT. Y'all make sure y'all hit the bell right under this video so y'all know when the Trill Spill shit is dropping. We gonna be
October
back
7th,
in town
2021.
We gonna be in your town.
When he died, and his mother
is in the studio this morning with more on.
Like Monster Cody and South Central, Larry Davis from Close Range.
His death 9/10/17 caused serious ramifications in Baton Rouge.
First time the mother of a local rapper is speaking out after her son was shot and killed 2 years ago.
NBC Local 33's Courtney Williams is in the studio this morning with more on that mother's message to his fans and how she's pushing forward since his death. Courtney?
Hey, good morning to you guys. Well, Garrett Burton, also known in the music world as G Money, was tragically killed while leaving a recording studio here in Baton Rouge in 2017. And his mother says even though it's been 2 years, the painful memories still feel like yesterday. Burton was only 22 years old when he died, and his mother said he was just about to really get started in his music career. Ava Burton says she received a tremendous amount of support from his fans from around the country and the world. She describes her son as loving and respectful, who didn't like confrontation, and the 2-year anniversary of his passing was just a month ago, but she says some days are harder than others.
It hasn't got no better. I think it'll get better. It feels like yesterday. It still feels the same to me. But like I said, when you have kids, you used to seeing all the time when talking to them, you know. And then he's about to leave here, got a record that he didn't leave Baton Rouge. So all that kind of plays into how I feel right now. You know, brought me that's kind of hard for me.
24-year-old DeAndre Fields was arrested and booked into East Baton Rouge Parish Prison for second-degree murder, charged back in June. Burton says she's ready for the trial to begin and get justice for her son. We'll keep you updated on air, online, and on our free Be Our Proud.
Ahead, a Baton Rouge rapper is accused of 2 shootings and facing 7 attempted murder charges. He has court today.
Yeah, in one of those incidents, 2 kids were injured when the vehicle they were in was shot at. Miyoshi Edwards, since entering the not guilty plea to several counts of attempted murder, is out of custody after posting a nearly $2 million bond earlier this year. According to court records, Edwards' prior alleged crimes will be introduced into court record today. The story goes a lot deeper than that. 2 shootings, Edwards is believed by law enforcement be the, quote, top enforcer of a local gang, feuding with 2 rival street gangs. Edwards is also charged with April shooting, where the shooting was caught on camera.
A man is behind bars tonight after police connected him to a shooting on Greenwell Springs Road that happened over the weekend. Video surveillance linked Miyoshi Edwards to that shooting. 2 children and 2 adults were shot when a car pulled next to theirs and began shooting. When police took Edwards into custody, they actually realized he had an active arrest warrant for a shooting that happened back in April that sent 1 person to the hospital. Edwards is now charged with 7 counts of attempted first-degree murder, among other charges connected to those shootings.
The Miami-Dade Police Department is investigating a shooting that unfortunately resulted in the death of 1 person and injuring another. What we have so far is that at approximately 1:41 p.m. an 911 call came in stating that there were shots fired at the Truck International. Once Sunny Isles officers responded to the scene is when they discovered multiple vehicles that were shot at and were impacted. And during their immediate preliminary search is when they discovered that there's a black Suburban on the southbound lanes of Collins Avenue. And there was a female, 19-year-old black female that was inside suffering from apparent gunshot wound to the upper extremities. She was transported to Avenue. To a hospital and is listed in stable condition. Moments later, another 911 call comes in where it stated that there was a male that was shot inside a vehicle at a shopping center across the street from the hotel. Sunny Isle officers immediately responded to that scene, and that's when they unfortunately discovered a male deceased from an apparent gunshot wound to the head inside the vehicle. It appears that a stray bullet traveled from the property of the Trump International across the street through the parking lot and striking this individual that apparently was working.
You just see people running in, bum rushing your restaurant, they're running for cover, and all you could do is provide it.
Across the street, there was a 5-year-old little boy that was grazed by a bullet, was treated by fire rescue on the scene and released. Several people have been detained and transported to our homicide bureau for further questioning. And we have seized several firearms that were found within the property.
But you know I dropped shit, put them in the wood, shit, you would think you bankrupt. Shit, cause it's about that time. Yeah, that's on Irish now, but yeah. For the book, switchblade, spin up it. Oh man, this is what I made.
This Hollywood shit, it don't work forever though. This Hollywood acting, fairy tale, fantasy shit, it all play out when one or two things. A motherfucker hit the big house or hit the little house on the prairie. You know what I mean? One of the two ways that this shit is like, I ain't talking about hustling and all that. I'm talking about this showing off shit. Because, I mean, you know, these people is actually showing off. They all on the internet and shit and doing that same old self-destructive shit I was talking about. Every hood against every hood, everybody against everybody. What the hell? What the, man? That shit might be a tradition now, but it ain't always been a tradition. So, you know, I know I might be an older generation, but this newer generation, this don't even what generation? It ain't even like where's the found? They don't even know. It ain't like where did they come from? They don't even know where they came from, and if they do, it ain't like it don't matter. And then the rest is like the government gonna keep on making it so it's hard to get a job, going to them sending them to them fake ass public schools, making it so nobody can't help each other. And then the kids gonna act like, well, since ain't nobody gonna help us, we're gonna rebel and tear this motherfucker up, right? And each other up too, right? Well, then there you go. The system whine again. It's like in them domestic violence cases. And, you know, when the man and the woman put the child in the middle of something, that ain't supposed to be happening in the first place. Either they're gonna have it or they ain't. They ain't gonna be fighting over it. And then put the child in the middle of something, because the child gonna end up hating both his parents. You know what I mean? He gonna, and then if he hate both his parents, he gonna hate himself. So ain't no solution in that. In this fronting shit that these young kids doing, what's with the fronting shit, man? If you doing what you doing and you surviving and this is how you surviving, And I ain't talking about all that, just shoot 'em up, bang, bang. I'm talking about your hustling thing. Now that shoot 'em up, bang, bang thing, that's some side effects. That not ain't even no side effects. That's some shit that y'all chose to add to your plate. You know what I mean? Instead of downsizing stress off your plate, you add more stress on your plate. And that's what I see. Everybody trying to tell everybody they ain't shit, and everybody ain't. And if ain't nobody shit, then ain't nobody. If everybody ain't shit, then ain't nobody shit. And then that's the end of that, bartender. Self-destruction, extinction, exterminate, self-extermination, self-extermination culture.
That's what I said on the head, yeah. That's
No hope. Acting hopeless.
They don't make them no more.
Niggas got $1 billion and he's still bragging about they don't make them no more.
Ivy shit, who grew up under Ivy, I'm the last bloodline of it. You know what I'm saying?
So how that's gonna help everybody else? See what I'm saying? It's just some self-destruction shit. Every motherfucking, he teaching selfishness, everybody for yourself. Soul survivor. But he know that ain't how he got where he at. He got where he at because he in a gang. So why he keep on bragging about himself as a soul survivor? Nigga, you didn't soul survive yourself. The gang helped you survive. So what are you talking about you a soul survivor? Why people bragging on themselves when it's the gang that's doing all this shit, not they self?
I can tell them shit from when I was 3-4 years old about Ivy. What used to go on. They say, damn, you remember that? Like shit, I used to be like 4, 5 years old. And I remember a lot of shit from when I was living. I remember a lot of shit. I remember a lot of shit. And I tell my uncles know about them. About it, they be like, "Damn, bitch, you really remember that shit, and you was young as a bitch." I remember a lot of that shit. I ain't never want to be no rapper. Manga been trying to get me to rap on TBG. They been trying to get me to rap. But Mark always told me you had the swag for it. You need to get in that, yo, I know you could. You got the swag for it. You already got the swag and everything. I never did it. What made me start rapping?
Yeah, we back. It's your boy Papa Lot. Mob Ties. We on our way to Louisiana with the Red Stick. Capital City. BR. Baton Rouge, we in the town. Y'all get in the comment box. Everybody watching, I hope y'all got y'all bulletproof vests because y'all damn sure might need it around here. Now, we are going to cover somebody that, like a lot of the people I've been covering recently, I've been getting so many requests to cover, and now I see why. Now, me personally, I've been hip to the person that we covering for about a year or so. Anybody that been hip longer, y'all get in the comment box. Y'all know the history, y'all get in the comment box. Now, today we're going to be covering a guy by the name of Mayoshi Edwards, a.k.a. Lit Yoshi, a.k.a. TBG Yoshi, a.k.a. the Head Youngin. Whatever you want to call him, that's who we going to be covering today. Shout out to everybody that been getting at me in the direct messages in the comments, letting me know which direction we need to go to, a city we need to pop out in. BR, we here now. This story is going to it's going to be like a tangled web. Now, based on media coverage and court documents filed, they're going to say that really Lit Yoshi kind of made his name in a city like Baton Rouge. You probably, man, you always got to be 10 toes down, or you better stay in the house. So with him being only 21, they label him one of the gang's top enforcers. So they're gonna quote unquote call the NBA a gang and call TBG a gang, and they're gonna be feuding. And according to deputies, it's pretty much over. It really started or escalated with the death of G Money back in September of 2017. Now Yoshi, it's crazy because he was questioned for. I seen where they said it was 2 shootings on 4th of July, and as well as a shooting in April. I saw where the judge in his trial said that the prosecutors could use evidence against him with any involvement that was at a Miami shooting at like a Trump International Hotel. So these is definitely anywhere we see you, you're going to get it at type niggas. Well, it was a shooting. Most people might remember it was a shooting where NBA Youngboy's girlfriend was shot. A bystander was actually killed in that shooting. And it really, really, really gets deeper than that because pretty much according to the advocate, the government, they're going to say that the whole story and the motive behind the shootings that Yoshi had committed, the lead detective, he told the judge that it's a simmering feud, like I said, between the NBA and TBG groups, and it escalated in 2017 with the death of Garrett G Money Burton. Now, one of NBA Youngboy's associates, a guy by the name of DeAndre Fields of New Rose, was arrested in June 2019 for Burton's killing and indicted on second degree murder charges. He's actually waiting to face trial now. In interviews with Rap Radar and interviews with Vlad, Fredo Bang, who is a very close associate and almost, I want to say, maybe something like a mentor to Lit Yoshi, will go on to say he don't think that Fields is the man that's guilty of the crime of the murder. Now, Fields himself was shot in April, and Edwards has been charged with attempted murder in that case. Now, on Mother's Day, this is the shooting that probably had got the most notoriety on Mother's Day of 2019, outside in Miami, outside the Trump International Hotel. Like I said, NBA Youngboy's girlfriend was shot, and a guy that was working actually across the street because, according to authorities, one group of people, and they accused that of being TBG, saw NBA Youngboy riding down, and they proceeded to open fire on them. Now, Yoshi actually is charged with 7 counts of attempt first-degree murder and shootings in Baton Rouge, and that was in April of July that I mentioned earlier, and it injured 3 of those 2 children. And he's actually free on a $1.82 million bail. So yeah, this shit just next level. Now they're gonna say the April shooting occurred in the parking lot of the La Playa apartment complex on Hanks Drive. Anybody familiar with the La Playa apartment complex? Y'all get in the comment box. That shit sound like the shit hectic. Now the July shooting took place on Malrick Crossing apartment complex, and that's on Greenwell Springs Road. So they damn sure pulling up and giving you that curb service. Now the attempt first degree murder carries a prison term of 10 to 50 years. And when you're facing 7 of those, y'all can just imagine of the time that he's looking at. But the city is wild, so you always got to stay ready. This is something that it took me a little bit longer to get to than I wanted to, but I also wanted to see how everything played out. I also seen very, very recently where Fredo Bang was also arrested with Lit Yoshi in Miami, both of them on outstanding warrants. Fredo Bang was actually scheduled to perform at the Rolling Loud, which was the most recent one. I want to say it's 2021. And I did see where they tried to Ty lit Yoshi to firearms that was connected to him from Miami. So this is definitely an ongoing situation. We're going to pay close attention to see how it plays out. We definitely wish the best on everybody, but I don't really like to see it get next level, man. This is almost kind of, it reminds me of exactly what's going on in Chirac, but to a different extent, because it was two groups. It was, I kind of call it the Dirt Chief Keef side, and then it was almost the FBG side. One side got a lot of popularity and a lot of, they came up while the other side was kind of somewhat unrecognized. And as that one side came up, it escalates the level of weapons, it escalates everything. It just gives you the hand on one specific, the other gang that you're going against. And I kind of liken it to that, where if it is what the authorities claim NBA gang pretty much was up in the city, and TBG was kind of taking losses, where G Money was on the rise to kind of put them on top, and he would end up getting killed. Fredo Bang is kind of doing his thing, and he arrested before he could perform Rolling Loud. So it's just crazy. But the difference with this is it's like both groups are seeming to emerge. NBA
Ain't nobody gonna make no money like that, huh?
Fredo Bang and the TBG group.
They both fighting to make some money to hold the next one back. Damn, it's the Ku Klux Klan for real, ain't it?
Funny,
The Black
it's
Ku Klux
ironic
Klan.
because in a recent interview, 21 Savage said that most rappers don't mess with NBA Youngboy because they mess with Little Durk, or it's a vice versa kind of thing. And that's almost like the role reversals of the TBG NBA situation within the city of Baton Rouge. I seen a live where Yoshi was going in saying how the NBA camp is up, so that's who the city is riding with. He don't got no problem with that. He ready to go to war with the whole city if that's what it takes. So he definitely about his shit. He actually kind of crazy with the music too. So y'all make sure y'all check it out. That's what makes this so
definitely out of control.
So difficult, because everybody has a lot of talent. Almost.
Grateful Evans with the snowflakes, Craig Pettis in the M-Town, Sal Magluta with the boat game, Falcone with the cocaine, like Freeway Ricky with the plug game, like Monster Cody and South Central, Larry Davis from close range.
Of a normally quiet night, and the lives of two undercover cops were shattered by gunfire in a sting that went terribly wrong. The island was turned upside down as police officers from all over the city raced into neighborhoods from Stapleton to St. George in search of suspects responsible for killing two of their own.
This department and this city will not rest until those responsible for this barbaric act are found.
In the air and on the ground, the police left no stone unturned.
At approximately 8 o'clock this evening, 2 New York City police detectives were shot and killed during a gun-buy operation here on Staten Island.
According to Police Commissioner Raymond Kelly, 2 of New York's finest made a deal with 18-year-old Omar Green to buy a Tech-9 handgun. It was a deal that would cost the 2 police officers their lives.
They agreed to go forward with the deal. The 2 men in the lobby got into the back seat of the car with the undercover detectives, and over the cell phone, Omar directed them to drive.
From there, they drove through the streets of Tompkinsville in a black 2000 Nissan Maxima driven by one of the detectives. Tailing the Maxima were 3 unmarked police cars who were also listening in on the wireless microphones. It was at Victory Boulevard and Corson Avenue where things started to go wrong.
The detectives pulled the car to the curb. The backup detectives had to now regroup because the car had stopped.
One of the suspects stepped out of the Maxima to talk to Omar Green, who was in contact with the 2 suspects on a cell phone. When the suspect returned to the Maxima, the 2 detectives and the 2 suspects drove up Corson Avenue and turned onto Westervelt Avenue. It was then that the backup cars lost sight and contact with the Maxima. Fearing for safety of the 2 undercover cops, detectives in charge ordered a search of the neighborhood. Minutes later, police found the bodies of their two colleagues on St. Paul's Avenue and Hannah Place. Both were shot in the head. The two police officers were rushed by ambulance to St. Vincent's Hospital, where they were both pronounced dead.
And tonight, tragically, we grieve for these brave men, and we pray for their families.
The mayor is calling this a gruesome murder, and he vows that the suspects will be apprehended. At St. Vincent's Hospital in West Brighton, for the Staten Island News Center,
Today's decision sent shockwaves through the families of Detectives Nemrin and Andrews.
Detective Mary Ann Andrews was too overcome by emotion to speak about today's decision to overturn Ronell Wilson's death sentence. 3 years ago, Wilson was convicted of murdering Andrews' husband and another undercover cop back in 2003. Detectives Rodney Andrews and James Nemorin were involved in a sting operation on Staten Island when Wilson took them by surprise and shot them, execution style, in the back of the head. Wilson was found guilty of the murders, but today, a federal court ruled that Wilson will need to be resentenced because his constitutional rights were violated during his trial. The president of the Police Officers Union opposes the panel's decision. Patrick Lynch said, "This vile individual should not be spared because of a mere technicality. He is a cold-blooded killer who deserves the fate that he has brought on himself." But Mike Palladino, the president of the Detectives Union, said he was not optimistic Wilson would receive a second death sentence.
It's going to take a miracle to recreate a death sentence with a new jury.
Palladino spoke on behalf of a distraught Mary Ann Andrews, who did not prepare a statement for the press.
You bleed, and the wound heals, and the wound reopens, and the blood continues to flow.
Wilson received New York's first federal death sentence in more than 50 years. Now prosecutors must decide whether to continue seeking the death penalty. Palladino encourages them to appeal today's ruling, possibly all the way up to the Supreme Court. Sarah Gersbarth, Pix 11 News.
A female federal prison guard in court today charged with having an illegal affair with an inmate. That inmate, a convicted cop killer. She's now pregnant and she faces more than a dozen years behind bars. Eyewitness News reporter NJ Burkett was in court and joins us live from downtown Brooklyn with more. NJ?
A federal court downtown Brooklyn where Nancy Gonzalez has just been released on bond. This was the scene here about 15 minutes ago. I want to show you the videotape. Ms. Gonzalez leaving the federal courthouse amid a crush of reporters and photographers. A 29-year-old prison guard charged with having a series of sexual encounters with an inmate.
Yeah, they've been doing it.
Welcome to Raid Shadow Legends. If you're
why the
wondering
fuck you gonna give him
just what
12
you're getting
years?
into,
Nigga, that's a
Raid
misdemeanor.
Shadow Legends is a free-to-play
That's a
game for your
misdemeanor.
PC or Mac running on the Plarium Play platform. Raid
You
isn't
already
just
took
any
a
game.
job.
It's one of the world's most popular.
That's a misdemeanor, man. You already took a job.
And not just any inmate, the convicted killer of two New York City cops.
Oh, well, shit.
Ronell Wilson was arrested in 2003 for murdering two New York City detectives in cold blood on Staten Island and is serving a life sentence in the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn, where Nancy Gonzalez worked the 4 to midnight shift.
Well, that was then, this is now.
Prosecutors say the two had a series of sexual
Oh, the
encounters,
midnight shift.
most of them in a vacant room next door to Wilson's prison cell. The alleged relationship went on for more than 4 months, and investigators believe she is now 8 months pregnant with Wilson's child. In a series of phone calls routinely monitored by jailhouse supervisors, Ms. Gonzalez is overheard saying, quote, "I took a chance because I was so vulnerable and wanted to be loved, and now I am carrying his child.
Yeah, wanted to be
Why
loved.
not give him a child as far as giving him some kind of hope?" End quote. But Ronell Wilson's crime was so heinous, the U.S. Justice Department may seek the federal death penalty. He climbed into the back of an unmarked car and shot 2 undercover detectives,
But he didn't
James Nemorin and Rod.
But he didn't know they was undercovers. He thought they was regular gang members. So why they ain't putting that part in there? How he know they was an undercover? He thought they was just regular gang members. They look like regular gang members to me. So, well, how he knew they was police, man?
Rodney Andrews, point blank in the head. In one of her phone calls, Nancy Gonzalez seemed to struggle with her conscience. How am I going to explain this to this little boy? Mommy was in the military. Mommy was a CO. Mommy got wrapped up with a person who took lives. So how do you explain that? End quote. Nancy Gonzalez said nothing as she left the courthouse. If she's convicted of all of this, she could face up to 15 years in federal prison. Her attorney, Anthony Rico, spoke to reporters just a few minutes ago and acknowledged that the charges are serious, but said it is not necessarily what it seems. Tonight in downtown Brooklyn, NJ Burke at Channel 7, Eyewitness News.
Yeah, we back. It's your boy Popular. Mob ties. We on our way to NYC with it. Staten Island. Stapleton. Now everybody from the city, y'all get in the comment box. Definitely if you're from Staten Island, if you tapped in from Stapleton, we need you below. Now, today, we are going to be covering a guy by the name of Ronell Earl Wilson. Now, again, we're going to be covering Ronell Earl Wilson. He was born May 4th, 1982. Some people might know him as Rated R. We coined him Death Trap because he was on some whole shit, for real. Now, what basically got him on Mob Ties or got him across my desk was an incident that occurred in 2003. And that's going to be where 2 undercover officers were murdered in the process of a sting operation to purchase firearms from an alleged suspect. That sting operation went wrong and the 2 officers would end up being killed. It was said that their bodies were searched and as well as the car that they were driving was stolen. Now, 2 days later, authorities will go on to arrest Ronell Wilson. And that's just the beginning of the saga because his trial would take place in November of 2006. Now, on December the 20th, 2006, he was found guilty of 2 capital murders as well as other related charges. And on January 30th, 2007, he was sentenced to death, which would make him the first prisoner sentenced to death by a federal jury in New York since the federal death penalty was reinstated. And that was going to be back in 1988. So with all the crimes that occurred from 1988 to the turn of the century, right around 2003, no one received the death penalty. But Ronell Wilson was right on line for that death penalty. Now, prosecutors would go on to say that he was part of a violent drug gang that operated in Stapleton. The government labeled them as the Stapleton Crew, but a lot of witnesses at trial denied using the name as the Stapleton Crew, which a lot of us know. They'll kind of just label you with what they want to give you the name of. Now, after being convicted for the murders and being sentenced to death, he actually had the conviction overturned on appeal. This was right around 2010. And the government filed for motions and petitions for a rehearing, and they were denied. Now, after his sentence was vacated, he was moved from Terre Haute, Indiana, which is one of the worst prisons in the world. And then he was moved to the Metropolitan Detention Center, or MDC, in Brooklyn. Now, while he was in MDC, he would go on to meet a correction officer by the name of Nancy Gonzalez that was working the 4 to midnight shift. And on the dates of July 15th, 2012 and March 22nd, 2013. Actually, he would have an illicit rendezvous with her on July 15, 2012. She would go on to give birth to a baby by the name of Justice on March 22nd, 2013. Now, for her indiscretions, I seen that she was brought up and she was charged. She ended up receiving a year. I think she was facing up to 12 years in prison. Now, in the media, I saw that the baby justice was removed from her by the government, and this was on charges of neglect. She would go on to say that she went to outings right after the baby was born with Ronell Wilson's family, and they would go on to get her intoxicated, and leading to her seeming to be a not fit mother, as well as going on to say that Ronell Wilson was not the first prisoner that she had sex with. She actually had sex with several co-workers, as well as another prisoner before Ronell Wilson, who was in the detention center on a drug beef. Now, and that was going to be in 2011. Now, with all of those allegations, that forced a federal investigation into MDC, where the government went in there and seen pretty much what was going on. How would a prisoner have access to a correction officer in that way in a federal penitentiary? Now, in July of 2013, Ronell Wilson was again sentenced to death for the 2003 murders, reinstating the previous death sentence that was thrown out in 2010. And it wouldn't be until 3 years later, on March 15th, where the judge presiding over the matter would deem Ronell Wilson as mentally handicapped, making him ineligible for the death penalty under the 8th Amendment. Now, prosecutors will go on to announce that they would not seek to appeal that ruling, which would end up with Ronell Wilson serving life without the possibility of parole in USP Florence, which is another one of the most notorious jails. But I also seen that he was moved and transferred to USP Cannon in Pennsylvania in July of 2020. So this case is just filled with it's like almost read out like a movie script. But the thing that stood out to me most that I didn't mention was during his hearing at one of his trials, he wanted to bring in the documentary Illmatic that Nas released and play that to the jury in hopes that they could see, I guess, his aspirations or see what he wanted to be. But that was denied by federal prosecutors, citing the relevancy of the fact, stating that there's no determining factor saying that Ronell Wilson knew Nas. They brought up Ill Will in the article. It was just wow. This story is just next level. Y'all make sure y'all follow me on Instagram, on Twitter, POP_A_LOT. Y'all get in the comment box below. Let me know who we need to cover. Shout out to the subscriber that gave me this story. Anybody that y'all got that we need to cover that we missing, y'all make sure y'all tapping below. Get at me on IG, on Twitter, under the pictures, direct message, however y'all want to handle the situation. Y'all hit the bell below to subscribe for when this trill shit is dropping. Y'all know what it is. The mob. Ty.
La emoción te queda muy bien.
Here we go again, bartender. Another for fair use and educational purposes. Work safety, a work safety video. Work safety, blood. Work safety. Work safe if you can. They playing ping pong to me.